why my boots weren't done. But I got to my knees, and I'm hurting, and I go over and I kind of nudge my buddy. It's a small tent. I kind of nudge him to the left, and I pull the flap of my tent open, and I look out, and I notice two things, and that is that this big craft, this big triangle thing that had been 3,000 feet over our head, had now descended, and now was only about 30 feet over our heads. I mean, it was right on top of us. We were at the tree line. We were kind of offset, so we weren't right underneath it, but we were right beside it. And I saw these little guys, and at first I thought they were children. And I'm like, Toby, but man, what are these kids doing out here in this middle of nowhere, in the middle of the night? And he said to me, he said, Terry, man, those ain't no little kids. Those aren't human beings, Terry. They took us and they hurt us. Don't you remember? And when he said that, it was like a slap in the face, and I immediately knew what was going on, and I was immediately just terrified. And I was really, really scared. That was the most scared I'd ever been in my life, I swear. And I'm looking at these little guys, and he's right. You know, they're not human beings. Their heads are large, disproportionate to their body. Their trunk of their body, their chest and abdomen are just slender, and their arms are spindly. And they walk with an unusual gait. They walk like they had sore feet or something. But they looked like they were having difficulty walking. And they were paired up. There were about 15 of them, maybe 12, 15, somewhere in that range. And they were paired up in twos and threes, and they were just wandering around the meadow. And from this craft, from underneath it came a column of white light again. Only this time it's about 30 feet in diameter. It's about as wide as the thing is tall off the ground, so I want to say 30 feet. It's a cylinder of visible white light. And these little guys would wander into this white light, and they just dissolved in it. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but that's what it was. Just like the old Star Trek thing where they get in the transporter or whatever it was. I wasn't a big fan, but they would just dissolve.
It sounds like they were getting transported back into the craft.
Absolutely.
Now, because here's the thing: we got to go on break here in about 2 minutes, and when we come back from break, I want you to describe what you can remember, what inside the craft looked like. And what noises you heard, what you saw, what you felt, what you smelt, and then the last 10 or 15 minutes of the show, I want to talk about the sodium pentothal, what they did, and then the last 5 minutes, I want to cover your book and on all that stuff.
Great, good.
So
I'm up for that.
Oh yeah,
I'm all.
But here you were. When did you start remembering you were transported on that craft? And this is the questions I'm going to ask you when we come back from the break. And what did you see on that craft? Did it scare you? Anyway, we're going to go a break now. We'll be back in 3 minutes. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio with our guest, Terry Lovelace. We'll be back.
Scintillas in the street. horizon. Where is my lucky star tonight? The seventh sister of the Pleiades walks in beauty like the night. Oh, that is best, dark and now lost to me. Only trust in the northern star. That's the only point that's fixed. I once believed in love. Even love cannot bridge this rift. Where is my lucky star tonight? The seventh sister of the Pleiades, who walks in a beauty like the night. All that is best, dark and bright.
Coming to you from some far point station, like a cosmic tumbleweed, both north and south of the Pleiades. Here's your host, Gary Anderson.
And that thunder is just going past the compound right as I speak. Our guest right now is Terry Lovelace. He, well, in 1977 was abducted with his buddy, which he thought he was in a state campground, but no, it was on federal land. Makes me kind of wonder if the government knew what was going on in there. Terry, now, what do you remember when you were on board of that UFO?
You know, I don't have a clear linear memory of, I have bits and pieces.
Well, let's hear those.
Okay, yeah. The first memory that I had was standing, I was frozen. I had my clothing in my hands, and I was standing straight upright, and I could not move a muscle. Just like Calvin Parker from I talked to him recently. He's from the Louisiana. He was abducted in 1973. He just wrote a book. And he was frozen the same way. He said that he couldn't move anything except for his eyes, and that's the condition we were in. I couldn't move anything except for my eyes. And they had stripped us, and I had my boots, my clothes in my hands. And I could strain my eyes, and I could perceive that my friend Toby was to my left. And then I'm looking around at the ship. And it was, I don't know if they took us to some other location or what, but the inside of the ship looked, the ship looked as big as a Walmart from the outside. But on the inside, if we were in the same craft, it was as big as a football stadium. It was just immense. And I didn't understand that. I still don't to this day. And I saw 3 saucers parked in a row, like planes under a carrier deck. Everything was stainless steel and white. And the place was brilliantly lit. It was like they had 500-watt bulbs and everything. And that's what I think burned us and damaged our eyes. Because we were both diagnosed with what they call flash burns or arc welders burns. our corneas, basically a sunburn on the cornea of your eye.
Well, maybe where they came from, they were used to intense light more than what our planet has. So that's probably why it was so extremely lit up.
Yeah, that'd be my guess. But man, it was bright. I got to tell you, it was bright. It was just, and there weren't light fixtures. It was just the light seemed to just pour out of everywhere in the ship. Everywhere, everything that was white. There was this big mezzanine, big open area, and around the side there were these different levels and doors that went somewhere, and there was a lot of activity. There was this thing that looked like a golf cart, but it had no wheels, and it rolled along and under some kind of power. And the little gray guys are all over the place. And I got a theory about them. I don't think those are living, sentient human beings like you and I. I think those are like little robots. I really do. I think they're probably artificial intelligence with some quantum computing and nanotechnology and a little bit of biological matter. And, then they got their worker bees. And they were all over the place. And when I strained my eyes to the right, there were other human beings there. And this is the heart of my one of my nightmares that disturbs me the most, is there were about maybe 20 or more mixed bag of men, women, and children, all like us, all nude, all holding their clothing in their hands, and they're standing in columns. And their eyes are darting all over the place, like us. We're trying to take in as much as we can see. And they're all crying. And we were segregated from them. We were kind of off to the side. There came a time when I heard a woman screaming. And, there's different kinds of screaming. I mean,
I got to ask you a question, Terry. Was that screaming like a pain, scared, or what?
Yeah, it was a pain. It was a pain. Scared. You can tell the difference. Somebody jumps out and yells, boo, and you scream, ah. And then, but there's a different kind of scream. There's a kind of scream that I associate with pain, and that's what I was hearing. I was hearing this poor woman just shrieking, and it just chilled me to the bone. And that stopped, and then my buddy was gone, and I recognized his voice, and he's screaming, oh my God, no, 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 and then he's screaming in pain.
Oh my God.
Now I'm scared to death because I know my turn's next. And they moved me like I was on the moving sidewalks in the airport.
Yeah, like a compare. Yeah,
I felt like I was on one of those because I'm stiff as a board, and they're moving me down this corridor, and that's where I saw, as I describe in the book, the tanks with the pink fluid in them. And the things I thought at first were puppies in the water, in the pink water. And one of them opened an eye, and that startled me, scared me. And that's another nightmare.
Now, do you think that was something they were doing, engineering from humans, cloning or doing something?
Yeah, I don't know what they were growing. They could have been human fetuses. I don't know. They looked like puppies to me because there were all these folds of skin